So you're thinking about buying an Mt-07. I've owned this bike for a little over a year now. I'm going to tell you why I think you should and why I think you shouldn't get this bike. Let's get it. First thing I'm going to talk about is ergonomics. I am 5'8", 165 with a 31-inch inseam, and I can flat foot with no problem. It's pretty comfortable. I've gone on pretty long rides, and the only complaint that I do have is the seat does get a little hard after about an hour of riding. Other than that, the riding position is really nice. If you're a taller guy, you might feel a little cramped, but for my frame, it feels really good. So the riding position, it feels like you're sitting in the bike as opposed to on the bike, if that makes sense. The handlebars are a little high. Makes it really easy and comfortable to control. The next thing I'm going to talk about is a little history on why I bought this bike and what led me to choose this bike over others. So this is not my first motorcycle. The first motorcycle I bought just before this was a 2003 Husqvarna SMR 450. That thing was, hold your horses, don't go nowhere. That thing was absolutely amazing. The only reason I really did sell it was it became too hard to maintain. Parts for it were becoming obsolete. It was really hard to find parts to fix it. So once I did get it fixed up to where everything was working perfect on it, I decided to sell it and get the Mt-07. So I'm not a complete new rider, but I still consider myself relatively new just because I've only been riding on the streets for a little over a year. Next, I'm going to talk about how this bike handles. I think this bike handles pretty darn well. The suspension is a little soft, but it makes it really comfortable riding through town. It absorbs bumps pretty darn well. If you don't have a lot of riding experience, the suspension is not going to be something that I think is going to turn you off. Of course, this bike would benefit from an aftermarket suspension, but if you're just riding around, commuting through town, you're not really too aggressive going through the mountains, or you plan on taking it to the track, it's going to be just fine. If you do plan on doing a lot of mountain riding or taking it out to the track, you might want to consider upgrading the suspension. It's too soft and bouncy. I think it doesn't feel very planted when you're really pushing it. But as a daily cruiser commuting to and from work, riding through town, I think it's actually really nice. It's nice and soft, and it absorbs those bumps really well. Let's talk about maintenance. I've had this bike for over a year, and I have a little over 2,000, almost 3,000 miles on it. So I haven't had a whole lot of maintenance done to it. The only thing that I've really done is an oil change, and I did change the air filter to a DNA Stage 2 air filter. I'll put that link to both of those videos in the corner or in the description below. Other than that, I really haven't done anything, checking the chain adjustments, but nothing major. So can't expect too much from maintenance for the first 3,000 miles. While we're talking about maintenance, we can go into reliability. Have I had any issues with this bike in the first 3,000 miles or first year? I've had absolutely zero issues. It's ran flawlessly. I haven't had any hiccups with it. That's one of those things you get with Yamaha, is that reliability. Next, let's talk about the power. This bike makes about 70 horsepower. I don't know the exact number, but the way it feels, the way the power comes on, really reminds me of a really large supermoto or a dirt bike. It's really torquey down low, and it kind of dies off over 5,000 RPM, which is expected from this parallel twin, but it feels really good cruising around town. The power is really linear, it's really smooth. I also did a video going over all the mods I've done to this bike as far as exhaust, air filter, some cosmetic things. If you want to see that video, I'll put it up here in the corner. Well, let's talk about brakes. Brakes are adequate. They're not great, but I think they are fine for what you get, for what you pay for. Compared to my Husqvarna 450, the Husqvarna had Brembo brakes, which were extremely touchy. Again, they're adequate, but not great. If you plan on commuting on the highway, maybe not the best option for you. If you do, maybe get a windscreen for it. You do get a lot of wind, of course, being a naked bike, so something to consider. Fuel economy, before I flashed my ECU and got an exhaust, I was averaging somewhere around 53 to 55 miles a gallon. And after the flash and the exhaust, I'm closer to 47 to 48, which is still really respectable. But of course, it'll vary depending on how you ride it. Overall, I think this bike is extremely fun. It's extremely reliable. I've had zero problems with it. I absolutely love it. Now, should you buy it or should you pass? I have two different answers. If you're a brand new rider with absolutely zero experience, I would probably suggest you maybe start on the Mt-07. Because it has so much torque down low, it can easily get away from you. And if you're inexperienced, that's something that you'll have to consider. Now, if you have some riding experience, maybe some dirt bikes, four-wheelers, whatever the case may be, and you're looking to buy a bike for the street for the first time, yeah, I think the Mt-07 will be just fine for you. It has plenty of power. It's really familiar. It's super light. It doesn't weigh that much, so handling it isn't a big problem. If you're currently a subscriber, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing, hitting that like button. It really means a lot. Thank you so much. Well, that's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, peace.